New report just came out, guys, that I wanted to share with you. Apparently, for the first time ever, Americans owe more than $1 trillion in credit card debt. So this is in the Hill. They say America's credit card balance has passed $1 trillion, or it's about to, depending on whom you ask. The average interest rate on a credit card is now 24%, the highest figure since the Reaganomics era. By the way, this is another good argument for why you need regulation, right? I mean, the government absolutely can step in if they so choose and say, hey, we're going to limit the amount of interest you could charge at 10% or 12% or whatever it is. In fact, I think Bernie and AOC did introduce a bill that did regulate that, but of course it hit a brick wall. And to my shock, at the time, even Tucker Carlson came out and said, yeah, that seems like a good idea. But now the average interest rate is 24%. I mean, I don't know what line it has to be to technically be considered more loan sharking, but we're sort of flirting with that now, aren't we? A typical American household now carries $10,000 in credit card debt by one estimate. Typical American household, $10,000. Jesus Christ. If that doesn't sound like a lot of debt, try paying it off. At $250 per month with 24% interest, you'll be making payments until 2030. And you'll spend a total of $20,318, twice what you owed. And that assumes you never use the card again. Quote, it's hard to build wealth when you're paying 20% interest every month, said Ted Rossman, a senior industry analyst at Bankrate.com. The nation's credit card debt stands at $986 billion, according to the Federal Reserve. The figure has climbed by $250 billion in just 2 years. Jesus. Some other estimates range higher. A Wallet Hub report put total credit card debt at $1.2 trillion at the end of 2022. Just 2 years ago, the national credit card narrative seemed headed in the opposite direction. Card balances declined from about $850 billion at the start of 2020 to less than $750 billion in the spring of 2021, a time of pandemic penny pinching and federal stimulus largesse. Yeah, guys, look, the stimulus money that was given during COVID, which a lot of Republicans made a lot of noise about, they weren't big fans of that. But Trump did $600, I think it was, and then Biden did a $1,400 stimulus check. And you look at that money, and a lot of that money just went to paying off debts. A lot of that money went towards necessities, right? Like this was absolutely necessary at the time, especially with the economic calamity, especially because of what was going on with the lockdowns and people not being able to work. And there were all these issues. It was absolutely necessary. And what this shows right here is exactly what we expected. What this shows right here is that people used that stuff to basically do the responsible thing, which flies in the face of the narrative that like, oh, people were just using it for booze and people are using it just to be lazy and things of that nature. In 2021, we saw people paying off a record amount of debt, said Jill Gonzalez, a senior analyst at Wallet Hub. People have been saving through 2020 without much to do, and then everything changed. Spending picked up, saving slowed down. The Federal Reserve commenced an unprecedented campaign of interest rate hikes. Credit card debt rose by $86 billion in the fourth quarter of 2022, the largest increase on record. People are struggling, man. People are struggling. That's a lot of debt that a lot of people are in. And people need money. We should have universal unionization. You should have a right to a union. We should have a higher minimum wage. We should have higher taxes on the wealthy and then use that money to do robust universal social programs, universal health care, free college. I mean, these things are obvious, right? These are basic social democratic moves. But instead, now we're going in the wrong direction yet again. Record income and wealth inequality, $1 trillion in credit card debt. And of course, you also have this problem, right? This is from LendingTree. 23% of Americans have medical debt. Now, I see numbers all over the place, man. They go on to say at one time or another, 45% of Americans have or have had medical debt. So just to give you an idea of some of the key findings here, 23% of Americans have medical debt, according to a recent LendingTree survey. Another 22% say they previously have had medical debt. Millennials are most likely to have medical debt. 30% of millennials say they have it, according to the LendingTree survey, versus 24% of Generation X, 22% of Gen Zers, and 13% of baby boomers. This is another big issue. The generational gap and divide when it comes to wealth. Boomers are basically like hoarding the nation's wealth, and everybody else is struggling, looking for the scraps. Lower earners are twice as likely to have medical debt than higher earners. That's no surprise. 28% of those who make $35,000 a year or less annually say they have medical debt versus 14% who make $100,000 or more yearly. $88 billion is the number in medical debt. This is from a February 2022 report. $88 billion. This is the number one cause of bankruptcy. I believe there are 500,000 medical bankruptcies every single year because a lot of people are uninsured, and then you also have a lot of people who are what's called underinsured, which is like you're covered, but not really. And so it's just a disastrous system, man. It's just a disastrous system. Medical bankruptcies literally don't even exist in other developed countries. Here, it's the number one cause of bankruptcy. So people are loaded to the gills with debt, all sorts of debt. You got the credit card debt, you got the medical debt. And of course, you have a situation right now as I'm talking to you where they're looking to cut some of the social safety net programs. Thankfully, we were able to protect Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Thank God. But defense spending went up when they're aiming for cutting the food stamp program, cutting the welfare program. You know, they want work requirements and stuff like that. It's totally unacceptable, totally unforgivable. And it's just a reminder that your government is not looking out for you in any way, shape, or form. This stuff needs to be addressed. On the credit card debt front, I would say in a less direct way, right? Like I would love a UBI. I would love the right to a union. I would love a higher minimum wage. I would love redistribution of wealth through higher taxes on the wealthy. I think that's how you sort of tackle in a roundabout way the credit card debt problem. I also would regulate the interest rate amount. I think that's a no-brainer. The percentage they could charge in interest, I think that's super important to do that. Basic regulation, basic marketplace regulation. But when it comes to school debt, you know, college loan debt, and when it comes to medical debt, I just wipe the slate clean. I'd get rid of it. And I also think that would have a stimulative effect on the economy because now you're basically unshackling an entire group of people in our economy who have been held back for a long time, and they'll be able to participate more so in the economy. Some will go get a car loan. Some will go get a mortgage on a house or put a down payment on a house. Like it can have a stimulative effect to make sure the people at the middle and the bottom have more financial well-being. Instead of supply side economics, it's demand side economics. I mean, that's the approach. That's the way to go. But anyway, not good. These numbers are not good, and I think that's pretty clear. All right, guys, that's the show. I love you all very much. You know the drill. Standard shameless plugs. Say them along with me. Everybody click like, click subscribe, leave a comment below. Make sure you click that bell icon so you get a notification every single time a video drops. That really helps with the algorithm because the algorithm's not that kind to many political channels, including this one here. So I think it's like 20 or 30% of you. I don't remember the exact percentage, but some significant chunk watch the channel, but don't subscribe. Just click that sub. Costs you nothing. Helps me out a lot. Really appreciate that. Remember, never had a conversation with an advertiser. Never will. So if you guys want to support the show, we recommend small dollar donations, $2 a month, $5 a month, whatever you're okay with. Patreon link below. Crystal Kyle and friends below as well. And then we also have, you could tip on YouTube through the thanks button if you're so inclined. And that's all I got for you, man. You guys can listen to the full audio version of the podcast if you'd like. You could do that on Spotify. We post the full shows over there if you want to hear the audio podcast. And that's all I got. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.